Hey Student Success, welcome to your week 1 assignment video. So just as a quick reminder, when you are accessing our course, the Start Here section is going to be used probably the first couple weeks of the semester, more so than later on. But as I mentioned in this welcome video, which is on this Start Here section page, there's a lot of just resources here, your syllabi, some expectations and information regarding the course. Then, of course, in our lessons area, we have another textbook access. Here are the discussion boards. I mentioned these in your welcome video. The muddy point is if you have a question that pertains that anyone can answer. So it pertains to the course, but anyone can answer. If you have an individual question, make sure you message me directly. And then the student lounge, I do recommend that you just introduce yourself in the student lounge, because while you will be introducing yourself in the week 1, one of the discussion forums, week 1 closes after week 1 is done. So if you want to be able to kind of interact and introduce yourself and just kind of informally chat with your other online peers, the student lounge is a great place to do that. Okay, so this video is just for your assignments. So in the week 1 folder, which will be open, the video folder will be open regardless. As soon as January 17th, 12:30 hits, this week 1 video folder you'll see colored in. In here is your chapter 1 lecture video and your chapter 2 lecture video, because week 1 covers 2 chapters. In fact, because this is an 8-week course, most weeks will cover quite a bit of material or assignments. So just kind of be prepared for that. Sometimes it's 1 chapter, but multiple assignments. Sometimes it's 2 chapters. So those I do recommend that you listen to. It gives you context for the assignments, a little bit of background, and then you are welcome to kind of use the PowerPoints and the text and all of those kind of as you see fit. So before you actually can see the week 1 folder, however, you can see my week 1 is right here. You have to take this required syllabus quiz. So you have to take this quiz and get a 100% on it before your week 1 folder will open. You will not have access to week 1 at all. So I often have students email me and say they can't see week 1, and it's usually because they did not take the syllabus quiz, or they took it and got an 80%. So you have to go back and retake it. So take your syllabus quiz first. So make sure that you take this, get 100%, then you'll see this folder brighten up as well. So inside week 1, here is the overview. Here's the materials folder. This is where all of the links for the textbooks, the slides, information that you might need for this particular week for your assignments, all of that is in here. I'm actually going to open this up right now so it's running in the background because I'm going to reference it here in a few minutes. But as I mentioned, because I've already done the lecture videos, this is going to go straight to the assignments. Here's a recap. So on your first review page, it's always going to tell you what you're doing overall. So just as a kind of, hey, snapshot, this week, week 1, I know it seems like a lot, and it is. You're being kind of thrown in right away. You have 2 discussion forums. So it says under both of them, post original by Wednesday for week 1 attendance, responded to classmates by Sunday. So I have another note down here. It says to get full week 1 attendance, you have to post in both forums. So chapter 1 and chapter 2. So if you go and you only post in chapter 1, you automatically have a 50% attendance. So you want to make sure that you post original response in both of those. Then by Sunday, you're responding to 2 classmates inside that forum. So 4 responses total, 2 in chapter 1 and 2 in chapter 2. You're always welcome to respond more than 2 classmates, but the minimum of 2. And I will go over this once I get into the assignment folder itself. Then you have 2 actual assignments, the Title IX training and quiz and the College Resources Digital Scavenger Hunt. And then Handshake, this is what you need to register for. If you recall back in my welcome video, I did mention the Student Services assignment. Again, I am recording this about 2 weeks before the semester starts. So the assignment workshops are not updated quite yet, but I really do recommend going ahead and getting that registration taken care of. So in the assignment folder, I'll just cover this right now. Down here, it says Handshake. Click here to register. So you click on that. Handshake is right here. It says no account, sign up here. You're going to put your, it kind of takes you to the same page anyway. You're going to put Sark State College, and then it's going to put your email address. Now, I know it says .edu. You do not have one of those. You have a .net. Totally fine. Put your starkstate.net email address right there, and you'll go through and you'll just click and register. That way, when it's time for you to register for an actual workshop, you already have the handshake part taken care of. It's one less step to do later. And I will remind you all of this as the weeks continue, but because this is an 8-week course, you really want to make sure that you get registered. And as soon as those workshops are updated for January, February, and so on, I will let you know. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the actual assignments. So you have 2 discussion forums this week. They are both based on what is covered in chapter 1 and chapter 2. That's why I always recommend, watching the videos, looking at the PowerPoints, looking at the text before you work on these, because you need to have that background. All right, so chapter 1 discussion. Here is the prompt. 2 parts. Part 1, introduce yourself and discuss your major or certification. So this is where you will introduce yourself just real quick. What's your name? Maybe you go by a name that's not listed in your actual Blackboard title that comes up, because as of right now, Blackboard does not let you change it to any other name. So maybe you go by a different name. And then what's your major? What are you working toward here? Part 2, select 4 of the 9 topics listed below and complete each of the 2 statements next to the topic. So here are the 4 of the 9. They're in this table here. So you can see all the way through, these all relate to chapter 1. So let's just say I pick 1, 3, 5, 7. I don't know, whatever ones you want to pick, whatever 4 topics you want to pick. You have to complete both statements inside each area. So if I choose attitude, my most negative attitude toward college is, fill it out. Here's what I'll do to be more positive. Fill it out. So it's not quite fill in the blank, but it is modeled that way. You're just kind of completing the statement. So whatever 4 you choose, lecture class, when I'm bored, I do this. To pay closer attention, I will try this. So suggestions for all of these are in your chapter 1 content. So you're welcome to go back and look at that if you need to. Okay, so make sure that you are posting both parts. Part 1, introduce yourself, and part 2, 4 of the 9 topics. You need to do this by Wednesday. So as a reminder, how to post, I did this in my welcome video, but if you did not get a chance to watch that yet, or you've forgotten already, let's go ahead and click. We click on the name of the forum. You'll see nothing comes up. Don't panic, because this is one where you have to post before you can see everyone else. So you're going to click create thread, and then you'll see it has recopied the prompt, so you don't have to click back and forth or anything. So here's the prompt again. So then there's example of how to post, a summary of what you're doing. Just put in your, chapter 1 discussion, or whatever you want to name it, and then put your responses here, and then hit submit. Okay, that's all you need to do for that. Now, you need to also respond to 2 classmates. So let's say you're in the forum. When you respond to a classmate, it's just as simple as clicking on the name of their thread and hitting reply. That's all you have to do. And when I say response, it is not just, I agree, great post, good job. That's not a response, that's a comment. So you want to do a meaningful response. You want to ask a question, build off of what they've posted, share something you have in common, whatever. I usually say about a sentence. It doesn't have to be terribly long. A sentence will suffice. You can definitely do more than that, but just make sure it's around a sentence. I also like to make sure students know that if you go in and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to post that already, or I have a lot of errors, you can go into your own post. See, I've posted this one, and I can go in and I can edit what I've posted, or I can just delete it altogether and start over. So you are able to kind of fix your own post if needed. I can also go in and delete if you would like me to. If you ask me to, I can do that. But I always like to make sure students know that they have the ability to do that on their own as well. All right, so that is for the chapter 1 discussion. You're posting your original response to these 2 parts by Wednesday, respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. You are also then scrolling down and doing the same thing for chapter 2. Original response by Wednesday, post to response to 2 classmates by Sunday. Here it says you are selecting 4 of the 6 topics. So very similar format. There are 6 topics. You choose 4, and all of these are connected to chapter 2. So if you're picking, planning ahead, attitude, focus, and study, whatever you want to choose, make sure that you complete both statements. Okay. Again, go through those same steps. Click, create thread, post your response, and then go back in. Now, sometimes people like to get in there like first thing when the week opens up. Just keep in mind that you might have to go back a day or two later and respond to those classmates. So don't forget, if you forget to post by Wednesday, and this is just for weeks 1 through 8, if you forget to post by Wednesday and all of a sudden it's Friday afternoon, please don't just say, oh well, I'm not going to post. You can still post and get partial attendance. So if you post in both forums by Friday, even though you missed the attendance deadline, you're still going to get half attendance points. And the forums are worth 10 points on their own. So they're kind of graded twice, if you will. They're graded for attendance, but then they're also graded for the actual content, for you responding and interacting to the prompt. So if you just say, oh, I missed attendance, I'm not going to put anything in the forum, you're losing extra points on top of that. So make sure that you do post regardless. All right, so those are your 2 discussion forums. You need to post your original response in both of those. So if you wonder why you missed attendance and you go back in and you only posted in one, that's why. You have to post in both by Wednesday for week 1 attendance. All right, after that, you have your Title IX training and quiz. Every brand new student to the college has to take this. And this is why in the materials folder, there was a PowerPoint about Title IX. So you can certainly have that up and running if you would like to have that as a quick reference. But what you'll do is you'll click on this and it's going to pop up into its own little window. And it might even say, hey, we blocked your pop-up. Just launch it. And it's going to walk you through. Click next. There we go. It's going to start talking to you. You're going to click through next, and it's going to ask you a series of questions. So a lot of the information is actually presented right in here, but that's why I also say, hey, you can have that up and running in the background. Whenever you're done, make sure that you let the last slide run all the way through, and then this is an automatically graded assignment, which means I do not manually grade this. Blackboard will transfer the grade over. So if you got a 10 out of 10, Blackboard's going to plug it in for you. What you can do though is click over to the My Grades area, find the Title IX training and quiz, here it is, and just make sure that a grade has recorded over here. Now if it has a blue in progress symbol, that means maybe it needs a little bit more time. So sometimes it might take up to an hour for Blackboard to transfer it over. But if it's been more than a day or so, that means something didn't submit. You need to go back in and make sure that the last slide ran through or you answered all the questions or something like that. Okay, so that's the Title IX training. So let me go back in. The assignments, discussion forums, Title IX, and then the last thing you're doing, remember this is just that registration, the last thing is the College Resources Digital Scavenger Hunt, which is kind of what it sounds like. It is just letting you know the resources that are available to you as a student. It's going to be another one of these pop-ups, and it's going to walk you through.
Stark State College offers some.
There we go. So it's going to walk you through some different resources, and you're just going to click through.
Let's do a digital scavenger.
And there are links embedded inside each of these slides
Use the website to find out.
to look for them. So if you're not sure, you know, the question, where is the testing center? You are welcome to like click back over here to like the info for current students and find this information here. There's the testing center. It's going to ask you questions about like help desk, like that kind of stuff. So you're welcome to use this as a nice reference as well as you take this scavenger hunt. So same thing, make sure you answer every single question. And on the last slide, make sure it runs all the way through. This is another automatically graded assignment. So you can go in and just check in the gradebook that that has in fact recorded. Now with week 1, there are a lot of assignments. And what you'll notice I do on weeks, especially when there's a lot of assignments, I will message you individually and say, hey, you're all done, good to go. That way you just have a little bit of confirmation that you are wrapped up with everything. Now, if there's a week that only has like 2 assignments, I may not do that, just depending, because sometimes you're good. But in a week like this, especially early on, so the first several weeks, I do email you inside the course messages here and say, hey, week 1 completed, good job, so that you know you're on track. So as a quick recap, make sure that you look at the materials for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. You want to post your original response in both the Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 discussion boards by Wednesday for week 1 attendance, and then complete Title IX training and College Resources Digital Scavenger Hunt by Sunday, along with those responses by Sunday. If you have any questions over these assignments, please feel free to reach out and let me know, and I hope you have a great first week.